Does any of you have experience with the laser treatment and fertility? And I went to bed.
Yeah.
And the next morning when I got up, I had messages from like almost every continent in the world. People were just going, oh, we've done that many times. It works so well. Just keep going. And I was really surprised because I had never heard of it.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Tracy, Donegan. Today I'm speaking with Danish physiotherapist Anne-Marie Jensen. And in this episode, Anne-Marie shares her experiences using red light therapy with women and men to help them start a family. So if you've been struggling to conceive, I hope you'll find this information helpful. Now I bring you Anne-Marie Jensen.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to my next episode of my video podcast. And today I'm delighted to welcome Anne-Marie Jensen, who is joining us from Copenhagen in Denmark. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot colder than it is here in Texas today. But Anne-Marie's going to tell us a little bit about the work that she's been doing over several years around photobiomodulation, PBM, laser, red light therapy. There's a million different names for it, but we'll stick to photobiomodulation or PBM today, just to kind of keep it on the science end of things, because that's what the research seems to have agreed on these days. So welcome, Anne-Marie. Delighted to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And
so tell us a little bit about your work.
Just to let you know that I actually often say low laser level therapy or LLT. So just
another one.
Yeah. Complete
to throw
confusion.
Into the mix.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about I guess how you first heard about PBM and kind of where it's taken you in your work, and maybe personally as well.
Well, I'm a physiotherapist, and I've been so for 20 years. And photobiomodulation is a part of the physiotherapy basic school. It's a part of our education in Denmark, or at least it was at that time. Yeah.
Okay. So, great.
I was introduced to laser therapy 25 years ago at school.
But so this is not new.
No. It's, is it 30, 40 years old?
Yeah, maybe even more.
Laser therapy was introduced long ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But using PBM for fertility is relatively new. We go back maybe only 15 years, 20 years. I can't remember exactly, but it's relatively new. For me personally, it started about 10, 12 years ago because I bought a Gigalaser. It's one of the biggest lasers we have at the market. And I just bought it because I wanted to treat my normal physiotherapeutic patients for knee arthrosis or shoulder injury or back pain or whatever. And I had only had it for a couple of months, I think. A woman from Sweden called me and asked if she could come and have some fertility enhancing treatments, because she had heard that I had this Gigalaser in my clinic. And I said, no, you can't. I don't work with fertility. Actually, I was thinking, she must be crazy.
Yeah.
But she was very insisting and kept saying, well, I've heard that they have very good effect, very high success rates in Norway using exactly the same machine that you have in your clinic. And she was a little desperate because she had one child, but she had tried for 5 years to become pregnant again. And she had tried everything and used so much money. So she kind of kept pushing me, and then finally I said, okay, you can come and use it during my lunch break. I'm going for lunch and I will leave the machine for you. I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Right. Yeah.
So she came and I went for lunch, and I hardly talked to her. And after 6 treatments, we said goodbye. I said good luck. And after 2 weeks, she called me and said, "Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. I'm finally pregnant." That
Wow.
was the start for me.
Wow.
So I started slowly. I got a little interested. Could that be my treatment, or the Gigalaser treatment? So I there was an international laser discussion list online. So one evening before I went to bed, I just wrote my case and explained what happened in my clinic, and I just asked out to all laser therapists in the world, does any of you have experience with laser treatment and fertility? And I went to bed.
Yeah.
And the next morning when I got up, I had messages from like almost every continent in the world. People were just going, "Oh, we've done that many times. It works so well. Just keep going." And I was really surprised because I had never heard of it. And then it is in Denmark, probably in Texas as well. This one woman who had become pregnant, she all her girlfriends came to me and called me after. So people, they just came to me, and then I finally thought, okay, I'm just going to have to go with it, because I had the feeling I have no choice now. I have to follow this.
Yeah.
And then I started gathering material. I spent a lot of time in. Sorry, my English is not so good. I tried to to search for evidence, scientific studies, literature, more clinical experience from other therapists all over the world, and I started traveling. And then after a while, it was my fertility patient were the patients I saw the most in my clinic, and it's been so for almost 10 years now.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so interesting because I've just kind of immersed myself. I only heard about PBM probably about 8 or 9 months ago, and around fertility. And my first reaction was, how does that work? It's just lice and no. And then, but like yourself, I started to see kind of more cases and evidence around pain management, and so I took a deep dive into kind of my early days. Oh, it's all about the mitochondria. So I started reading up on everything about the mitochondria. But then, as I read more, it's like, oh no, there's actually several different processes that's happening around and the cellular metabolism. And then, just looking at pain management, because I'm a midwife by trade. So I'm thinking, is there a way to use this for pain management too, and postpartum but yeah, I couldn't wrap my head around it either. But like you, as I've looked more and more into the research, and we see it's just like the trajectory of the research is just like a hockey stick now. I'm starting to see, especially out online forums as well, that for women who have never heard of this, or they're hearing about it usually from their acupuncturists, not through their fertility clinic at all.
No.
And then when if they're going to an acupuncturist, then some of them if finances are an issue and they've already spent, I'm not sure what the situation is in Denmark, but in the US, you pay huge amounts of money for fertility treatments. And so these women are very, very motivated, but, in some cases, they've already emptied their savings. And now this new therapy has arrived. So some of them are, I think it's like this new, it's not a new therapy, but this emerging, now it's actually emerging really into science and being evidence-based, that it's almost like the Wild West, because everybody has different protocols for everything. And now we're looking at different, even new treatments coming out with like even longer wavelengths, like over into the thousands. And so they're, as you see, like there is like 2 million YouTube videos on what panel to buy and all of the consumer products. So it's been interesting seeing how these women are dealing with trying to find treatments and trying to a lot of times now DIYing at home, because it is, thankfully there's been shown to be, this is a safe treatment.
Yeah.
But DIYing your own fertility care is one thing, and it is empowering for women to be able to take that into their own hands, especially if it's not being offered locally. But it is hard for women to find, well, which should I be using, near infrared and then the red light, or should I be doing both combined? Should we be doing pulsing? And I think what we're going to find, I think you're already seeing that there are certain protocols for the Gigalaser. And then, so what is going on like out in the consumer market where, the average woman who can't get to Denmark to see you has to go herself really digging through Google trying to find, anybody out there that's using these treatments and might let me go and have a go. So the woman that came to your clinic, was she in healthcare herself, or how had she heard about the laser herself?
She was a friend of the Dane Arne Grænsted, who developed the Gigalaser. So it was a personal connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Sometimes it's those connections that make all the difference. And as you know, women who are dealing with infertility are incredibly motivated. When I think back to my own experiences, we had trouble the first go around, and eventually it happened, like literally as we were about to make the decision to go for IVF. Second go around, secondary infertility, we couldn't figure out any issues, but then found out that I was in early menopause, which of course threw quite a big spanner in the works. But it was like, we had just decided, look, maybe it's just not going to happen for us. We really didn't want to go down the IVF route. I was a little older, and I was in training to be a midwife at the time. So we decided to let's just leave it well enough alone. And it was like, we had a 7-year gap. But if I'd known about the lasers, I probably would have been much more open to, trying some other treatments, because I'd done the Chinese herbs, I'd done the acupuncture, and there's so much snake oil treatments out there that are just really taking advantage of vulnerable women. And I think that might be one of the reasons why PBM is having a harder time, I guess, getting off the ground, because it just seems so incredulous. Like, it's just how people don't understand, like, how can light make me pray? How can the light I'm shining on my neck or, on my abdomen going to affect my ovaries?
Hi there. If you're enjoying this conversation and are excited to learn more about red light therapy to optimize fertility, visit my website at tracydonegan.org for additional free resources. You'll learn how you can use red light therapy without an expensive laser, right from the comfort of your own home. Your support is so important to us and helps us reach more women with empowering content. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button and spread the love.
So it's, do you want to talk a little bit about what it actually does to the body? In respects to fertility?
Well, what we already knew about laser even before we started using it on infertile women is that when you stimulate the body, any cell in your body with the laser light in this specific wavelength, you stimulate the mitochondria. There's mitochondria in each cell. The role of the mitochondria is to create energy. Each cell needs kind of fuel to do whatever the cell has to do. It. So the mitochondria they kind of create energy. I don't know what you call this specific thing they do in English. There's a word I can't.
No, I understand. It ignites that illuminates that cell to work properly.
Yeah. So we know that when mitochondria is getting a little slower, and you stimulate with laser light, they kind of work better. So they develop more energy. It doesn't matter what kind of cell. Light makes, it's like you transfer energy into the cell by stimulating the mitochondrial activity. So when you do that for a cell, the cell will be better at doing whatever the cell has to do. It can move, it can transport or transfer to around the body, and the cells can divide better. So all the cell that has to divide, that works better after laser treatment. And you will also see that the cells will be better at connecting to other kind of tissue. Do you say adhere?
Adhere, yes.
Adhere with other tissue. So I knew that before I started working with fertility. And if you want a cell to move around in the body and to, what's the English word for the cells to do that process?
To multiply, or the cell division. Yeah.
The division. And then add her with other tissue. This is exactly what an egg cell has to do. It has to get out from the ovary into the tubes and into the uterus. It has to be fertilized and then start dividing. And it has to adhere in the lining,
On the lining of the womb. Yes, yeah.
The lining of the womb. So actually, it's quite obvious.
Yeah.
To choose laser therapy, because this is exactly what an egg has to do. And when we try to find out why is it that women, when they get older, why is it difficult to get pregnant? What exactly happens? The thing that happens is that the mitochondrial activity in the egg cells starts slowing down. There's less and less energy in these egg cells. So what we want to do is get the mitochondrial activity to raise, and you want more energy to the cell. That's the basis, the basic
so it's almost
theory.
So yeah, it's almost like you're rejuvenating not just the ovaries, but the entire reproductive system. So you're making the uterus more receptive to implantation. You're making and one thing that I found fascinating was with all cells having a couple of hundred mitochondria as part of them. But when you look at like really important areas of the body, like the brain or the heart and the ovaries have something like 200,000 mitochondria. So you can imagine the amount of energy that they need to keep functioning optimally. And when I'd seen that Japanese research where he was showing, pregnancy for, the women that had been trying for many, many years, and many of them were older women, which I thought was fascinating. And I'd seen another study where even like women who were menopausal, where their periods were coming back. And now I don't want any of that. Thank you. I'm happy where I am. But I think it's fascinating. It's when you look at it works on the entire body. When we look at fertility in particular, it's and really optimizing the ovaries. And then, are you working with men at all for male factor fertility issues?
Men are very welcome, but I don't see that many men. I wish
that's a pity.
I have like 95% women.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you know that it's if you know it's a female related, then fair enough. But as you know, in a lot of cases, or sometimes half the cases, it's a male factor, and we go off down the rabbit hole of testing all the women, and then the men at the end we're like, oh, actually, we should just check what's going on with you too.
I have a lot of women coming to my clinic, and the first time I see them, we kind of going through their history and try to figure out I don't only work with laser. I also work with manual scar tissue treatment, and where she showed a method, exercises, and what do you say, dietary, nutrition, etc. And we kind of go through to find out what should we do. Is it scar tissue here, or do you exercise too much or too little? Sometimes I talk to them for like 45 minutes, and I think, well, I really don't know. What do you think could be the reason? And they say, oh, it's probably because my husband has low sperm count.
Right.
Could be.
Yeah.
Then I invite men to come as well, but apparently it's more difficult for men to take that step. I think they are afraid that I'm going to touch their testicles, or they don't.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
I was about to say, because I'm sure they're kind of a little bit nervous about. Because I think when people hear the word laser, as I know when I had emailed you, they think, the James Bond laser that will cut through metal, and so I can understand where they're thinking, you want me to go see this strange woman who's going to might touch my testicles, I might put a laser. It's like, we're not going there. So that's
one thing. The other thing is that I think it's still harder for men to go to a clinic and talk about low sperm count. It's still, I think it's a more taboo for men, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's still taboo, unfortunately, like just talking about fertility, even when you're having fertility challenges amongst women. But I think it's getting better that where we're being more open, and I think men are feeling more comfortable talking about what's going on, and seeing, especially if it does end up being a male factor issue, that we got to get rid of the shame around this, and there's lots of lifestyle changes that you can make that will support, healthy sperm. But for somebody who might be watching and thinking, okay, well, we've done all the tests and it's still not happening, and we can't figure out, but it is male factor at this point. So what would be the treatment? I mean, you're not touching their testicles, or you are, or what? I'm just interested. So for someone who's considering it, for both partners, maybe for health reasons.
In my clinic, we teach the men how to treat themselves. So when they come to the clinic, they just borrow I don't use the Gigalaser for male issues, because you don't want to heat up the testicles. You have to work with lower doses. It's like, the testicles is like ovaries hanging outside to keep cooler. So you don't want to heat the testicles. So you have to be careful with the doses. You don't have a lot of different layers to
go through, to penetrate.
Penetrate. So we use a small laser. We call it a power laser. And then I show the men how to stimulate directly on the testicles with no direct touch. It's just sweeping over the testicles to ensure that I don't heat up the testicles. So I show them how to do it, and we also trying to stimulate the prostate gland.
The prostate, yes.
Prostate, yeah. So I show them. I have a model in my clinic, and I show them exactly how to do it. And then they just go into the bathroom and lock the door and do it themselves. It takes only 2 minutes.
Wow.
And and then they come approximately every second day, the week before her ovulation. It's very cheap. It's only a couple of minutes. They just borrow my laser. There are no side effects, no negative side effects. It's very safe. No pain. So,
it's really
evidence.
Well, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think that the evidence for male fertility is still not. I'm not sure actually, but at least I have worked with hundreds of women and maybe only 30 men. So for me, I have a lot more experience, and with male fertility, I'm still a little more insecure if I should give a higher dose. So I think in the future we'll probably change the dose when we get more evidence. But for now, we only stimulate a couple of minutes every second day, or maybe every day for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then
it's interesting to see that, because I looked at a couple of pieces of research recently on male factor, and I think what is great about the laser therapy is the fact that it's so quick, and that you're also its impact on stem cells and sperm motility and I thought, because if you're working from the point of, okay, we're trying to boost the origins of spermatogenesis, the very beginning, that it takes a couple of months for. So I think people are looking for, okay, so how long is it going to take if he fixes his diet and he doesn't smoke anymore and he doesn't drink, and and we're already impatient because we've probably been down this road for a while, and we're like, okay, and now it's going to take him 3 months or longer to kind of get to that optimal level of health. So have you seen how quickly the effects are on sperm, or like how many treatments would you have with somebody who was maybe getting ready for an IVF maybe?
As soon as you finish the first treatment, you will see effect.
Really?
Yeah. We don't change the DNA. The effect is maybe only on the motility. They swim better. But that's such a major thing.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
We need these sperm cells to swim fast or swim longer or better, to bring all this energy into the egg. So this is such a basic thing, and it works right after you finish the first treatment, and they swim better. The question is, for how long does it last? And can you change the semen quality for good after several treatments, or is it just boosting? They swim better, done, you're back to the same baseline as before. We still need some more research to figure that out. And what we're interested in also is, could it change the amount of do you say DNA fragmentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Could we change that in the long run, or is it really just the motility? So for now, we know that it affects motility, but maybe nothing else.
Right. But it affects it quickly.
Yeah. You can.
And then we're also supporting the I think a big part as well, especially living in modern times, is it's the PBM and its impact on the inflammatory process in the body as well. I think there's been some confusion that it stops inflammation, but a certain amount of inflammation is actually, it's needed in the body. But it's that idea of helping the inflammation process complete, really, instead of stopping it the way medication does.
Yeah, you can stimulate the immune cells to work better, more effective.
Yes.
But you might not change the reason for the inflammation. You have to
of course,
find other
what else is going on. This is kind of what I've been using the last couple of weeks with this everyone being sick in the house. But it's a torch, the diesel torch that I've been using, but I use it kind of on my the lymph nodes and here and just for give myself kind of my body a boost in the morning, and trying to help the cells along a little bit as I'm preparing for my day. Do you use any of the laser for yourself?
Oh yeah. If laser was dangerous, I would definitely be dead by now. That's for sure. Yeah.
Probably so would I.
Yeah. I being a physiotherapist is actually hard physical work. So I sometimes get a sore neck, shoulder, or my fingers. and I always use the laser, and it always helps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I bought the first laser in the first place, is because I'd only been a physiotherapist for a year. I start getting sore fingers after a day at work. So I thought, oh, I'm going to have to try this laser thing. So that's why I bought the first small laser in the beginning to use it for my own hands. And it helped immediately. Because actually I was afraid that I couldn't work as a physiotherapist at all. I'm hypermobile. It was hard for my joints. So that's what I got the laser at the first time, the beginning. So I've used them on, I think, almost every joint in my body.
Yeah, it's interesting with that, with the small lasers. Like, we have one of our dogs has a hematoma in his ear at the moment, and we've our vet uses lasers, and I've been connecting with other groups that use lasers on their pets at home, and it's been actually quite remarkable to see the hematoma shrink so quickly. When a year ago we had to bring her in for surgery, so that was
you can see it
really
sometimes
well
with your eyes immediately.
Yeah, it's been, and my husband will sit on the couch, with sore knee, and you're just watching TV and you're doing a couple of minutes on the knee, or I think it's going to be part of every first aid kit, I think, in the future for little cuts and bruises and burns, and it's and I think maybe that's part
any kind
of
of inflammation,
Yes, any injury. It's other than brain. I know there is plenty of emerging evidence now on really brilliant studies on for Alzheimer's and dementia and traumatic brain injury, but I'm not touching the brain just yet. I want to make sure, even though, I mean, if you're using a torch or using a panel, you're still getting the systemic effect in the body, but we're not trying to go directly onto the brain. So are there any, I guess, case studies of patients that you've worked with that kind of stand out in your mind, that they've been trying for a really long time, and other than you're the first woman that borrowed your laser? Are there any just for anyone who's out there watching that is struggling to conceive that, and they're thinking this might be worth looking at? It's so what would be, I guess, your average kind of treatment time for somebody, based on if it was basically, an egg quality issue, and how frequent would the sessions be? And
I actually took time last year to count. I contacted all the laser patients who's been using my Gigalaser for in the whole year of 2029. I contacted them all 1 year after to see if they got pregnant, and I counted how many treatments they'd had. So I know that for those who got pregnant, they had used the laser 16.3 times in average. And those who didn't, they had used the laser, I think, 13 times.
Okay.
I had some patients who, I think one patient used the laser 65 times and got pregnant.
65.
So, yeah, I probably, I was amazed that she didn't give up, but she had tried for a long time when she came to us, and we'd been working with her for a couple of months, and she finally got pregnant, but unfortunately she lost the pregnancy. But then she thought, oh, finally found something that works.
Right.
Therefore she kept going. Yeah. And I saw her actually yesterday. She came for scar tissue treatment. She had a C-section, but the baby is perfectly healthy and everybody is happy.
Lovely.
But
65
times? 65 times. Yeah.
So how long is a treatment? I'm just trying, for somebody who's trying to figure out how long is that, what is that going to take out of my life for 60, if I had to do, let's just say the average being about 16 treatments. So when they come into your office, is it 10-minute treatment, an hour treatment? How long are they
It's
Are you using
either
the laser?
15 minutes or 22 minutes. If
Okay.
you do 15 minutes, it's only near infrared light. But
Mm.
some women find it very nice to combine with red light that creates a little bit heat, just a little.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more relaxing. I don't know if it affects the egg quality, but they prefer this more
Mm.
relaxing treatment. So when they
Yeah.
use the red light also, it takes 22 minutes. In my clinic, it's mostly self treatment. They
Wow.
don't have to see me every time. They come
Yeah.
once for instruction, then they can actually just use the laser. I have one Gigalaser in my waiting room, and then I have some
Really?
curtains. They can just go behind the curtain and then use it. So it's not very expensive.
Fantastic.
And they can come in the evening, in the morning, and weekend, because often when they have to go to the doctor, it's in the middle of the day. They have to
Mm.
take time off from work, and it's
Sure.
yeah. But here
Yeah.
they can just pop over 9:30, and it's quiet in the clinic, and
And it's just a few
they
minutes.
don't have to pay my salary. It works very well that way.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I would love to see that happening in other places, and I'm not
yeah,
sure if the US will be jumping on board anytime soon because it's so litigious. You'd have to have every client sign up this much of
ah,
um paperwork to say if anything
yeah,
happened, anything went wrong,
yeah,
that you're not going to sue us. That would be I can
yeah,
imagine it would be a big barrier to women accessing this here in the US.
yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you about what you're doing with the scar remodeling and the laser for that woman that
Mm,
had the C-section? Because I think that's it is a as unfortunately cesareans continue to increase,
mm,
that it is a big deal for a lot of women that scar can, and first of all the infection rates and hospital readmissions.
mm,
I've seen some of the research on the use of PBM on cesarean scars, but they're starting with like immediately after the cesarean, which is going to be very difficult for most
mm.
people unless they're bringing their own laser with them, and they have a nurse to support them with dressings and everything. So, but can you tell me what you're doing with the scar tissue for with the scars for the cesarean?
We use it for any scar. So if you have any listeners who has any kind of scar in the pelvic area, you should really get a treatment before you spend a lot of money on IVF. Get any kind
Really?
of scar treated, C-section scar or any surgical scar, or trauma scars, or even scars after, or scar tissue after infections. They
Mm.
always leave some kind of scar tissue, micro scar tissue. So I would really advise everybody to just get a couple of sessions. If you know a physiotherapist or a laser therapist working with scar, you should really have it done. It's going to help for fertility, but it's going to help you for the rest of your life, so that these scars don't create a lot of trouble later. What we do in our clinic is that we always offer manual treatment. We have to we have to break down the scar manually.
So
So
this is kind of mobilization of the scar
yeah,
and
deep
right.
tissue mobilization. So the first session is an inspection, and then we teach our patient how to work with the scar manually. And when you do that, you kind of break down the tissue. You create inflammation,
Hmm.
and then we
Right.
use the laser. We know from research that the laser will make the scar thinner,
Hmm. Yes.
so it won't create so much trouble. So we advise them, if they use the Gigalaser for self-treatment, the first couple of minutes you're in the laser, do some stretching and pulling and mobilizing and deep tissue massage, and then take your fingers off and just let the laser work. and then a lot of stretching and mobilize your pelvis that creates a good effect to combine. I hardly ever offer only laser for scar tissue because the combination is so much more effective. But I
Yeah.
always
Oh, I
use
think so.
laser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so for when we're looking at this idea of scar tissue within the body, and is that the same as like adhesions? Like if somebody
Yeah.
had maybe a cyst removed, and so
Yeah.
these adhesions can grow. So
Fibroids
yeah,
or polyps
yeah,
or even in your intestines, what do you call the small
in the colon.
yeah, anything in your intestines, you could have surgery, whatever in the
Yeah.
whole pelvic area, get
Yeah, that's because,
treatment.
and it's something that we don't even, we could be walking around and not knowing that we have, we've
Yeah.
had a really bad infection that, has
Yeah.
left scar tissue. And
Yeah.
I remember when we were going through our kind of our fertility challenges, this was 20 years ago with my eldest, and having the, and it's gone out of my head now. It's when his high, it begins with an H, and I'll edit this bit out, and I'll hypersalpingon. It's where we put the dye through the tubes.
Hydrosalpinge.
Or hypersalping, something like that. Yeah, it's gone out of my head now.
It means you have fluid. Hydro.
What they do is I think it's called hypersalpingograms. What they do is they force a dye through the tubes.
Yeah.
To make sure
the
tubes are clear.
Examination. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I had because again we were getting to a point where like we can't figure out what is wrong here, and they did this test where I went in and this dye was pushed through my fallopian tubes to make sure it was
painful,
not
right?
It was awful, and it wasn't horrible. It wasn't very pleasant. But when I think back, it's like, I could have maybe a few laser treatments might have. I wouldn't have had to have that, because I think when you're on that fertility, it's conveyor belt. You almost just go from one treatment to the next treatment and the next herb, and it's it becomes a full-time job, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating area, and I know I'm going to get lots of questions about this. So what would you suggest for maybe somebody that's watching this today and they can't afford IVF and they're really not really sure what can they do just to really to optimize their health with the use of the laser. So let's say they're eating all the right things, they're really looking after their health, but they want to take this additional step now that they've heard a little bit about what you're doing. Where would you suggest they even start when it comes to laser?
Well, do you mean if they have access to a Gigalaser, or if they are looking to buy a
I guess where would they even? I mean, would you suggest they connect with a physiotherapist or maybe an acupuncturist? Because I'm not seeing much use of it here where I am at all.
What you would do in Texas, I wouldn't know, or in the States. Here in Denmark, we have physiotherapists educated for treating infertility in every part of the country. So that would be a good start. But I don't know if it's like that in the US.
I don't believe so. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on this and talk to some of my physio friends. But so in Denmark, so if it's part of your education is you're trained in laser therapy. And then are you using laser therapy for women's pelvic floor health and who have maybe given birth? And is that something that you work with as well, or would you?
I actually don't use it for pelvic floor health. I think training the pelvic floor is much more effective. So that's more a typical physical training session. I think the women who need PBM treatment the most are the age-related infertile women. they might not have any other problems. That's where I think laser treatment will be the first choice. But we also work with younger women with PCO.
PCOS, yeah.
PCOS, because if you have PCOS, your eggs, they won't mature properly. You release immature egg. I've seen PBM doing a great job with this condition. And actually, where I sometimes see extremely good effect is with endometriosis.
I was about to say,
because
with
they are
that
so
tissue.
filled with micro scar tissue and inflammation, and it decreases the pain. Some of them they go through periods without pain for the first time in their whole lives after laser treatment, and that increases the chances of getting pregnant. We also see women with a lining endometrium that doesn't build up properly. And we have good research showing that PBM would help these women. And then the new research we have now is showing that laser therapy can affect the microbiome in your intestines. And that's really interesting because we've seen this gut fertility connection. A lot of my patients have gut issues, IBS issues, and I was actually wondering. I had a few patients coming to say, could it be that this laser therapy also solves my IBS issues?
Gut issues, yeah.
And I say, I don't know. You tell me. But then we have research coming now, the last years, showing really good effect on the microbiome. So we are also working with the gut fertility link.
Yeah. Do you think that's one of the problems though? Do you think that might be one of the reasons why it's taking so long for the medics as well to jump on board with this as well? The fact that it seems to be panacea for everything. It's bruises and cuts, and now it's fertility and it's traumatic brain injury. It just seems like it's too good to be true. That how can it have this, again, like little light can have so much impact on the body? Do you think that's part of it? That it feels like, because we've always said, it sounds too good to be true. Yeah, you want to look a bit deeper and do a little bit more research. And I'm at that point as well. I'm like, really? Can it be doing all these things? But then I see another paper by Michael Handlin coming out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it is doing all of these things, and it's affecting neurons that connect to other neurons on like pain perception, and it's like it's doing everything really to optimize our health.
It does really. It's energy for our cells.
Yeah.
That will help on all kinds of conditions. Yeah, it could be one of the problems. I think the other problem is that the medical industry are not interested.
No.
I don't know how it is in the States, but in Denmark, I've heard that 95% of all scientific studies being done within the health field is completely or partly paid by the medical industry. And they are not interested in laser therapy.
No.
So we don't get a lot of research done. And the problem with laser is that you have to either buy this machine yourself or you have to come to the clinic quite often. I advise my patients to come every second or every third day. So it's a little bit easier just to get a pill and go home and just take your pills at home.
Yes.
So there are.
But yeah, I can't see. Yeah, I mean, why would pharmaceutical companies have any interest in this? Because if it's gonna, affect their sales of ibuprofen or whatever, anti-inflammatory that they make billions on every year. If somebody can go and use this light and have no side effects and it's not harmful, you can see why they're not going to be promoting it anytime soon. But you would think kind of, overall, like, government would be looking at it, but then government and pharma, that's another conversation, but that government would be looking at it for preventative care and to save money really on the population's health bill.
The people who decide who decide how to spend the money in our public healthcare system in Denmark is mostly doctors, and they are educated in using medicine.
Yes.
So they're not educated. They don't know anything about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's another problem.
It is. I think we're starting to see more medics that are, I guess, getting curious about what this field is doing. But let's hope they continue with that attitude of curiosity and see, especially interviews like this, it's working. It is working for people.
We do have, I believe you have had that discussion in the US as well, that medicine kills a lot of people. So we have to take that discussion. Should we begin to use a little less medicine and try with more exercise and laser therapy and better nutrition? And
then you get into that whole the knowledge behavior gap. It's like, I know I should do all these things, but it's so hard to make myself go and do this and eat the right things, and it's it's easier just to pop a pill and
it's so much easier.
And that's
but
what we want these days. Quick. No.
But don't do it. One pill takes the other, and so try to find other solutions if you can.
Yes. Yeah.
But
I think it's very interesting to see what's happening in this space with I think I've seen some interviews where they're, especially around, the kind of bigger, like Thor and all of, like the huge lasers and laser beds, that it's really about, they're looking at, this being preventative and for not just, because what we tend to do is we are, in medicine, we're just fixing the damage instead of trying to kill. Well, what can we do to optimize our health and not have the downstream effects that we've seen with medicine. So you feel like this is going to continue to be a cornerstone of your treatment, with really for I guess you probably use it like daily for everything that you're doing?
Well, I also have pregnant women in my clinic with pelvic pain issues. I don't use it on pregnant women because we don't have any scientific studies where we have given laser on pregnant women. So I don't ever use it on the, and I see a lot of maybe pregnant women. They're trying to conceive, but after ovulation they might be pregnant. Then we have to wait. So
for somebody who's out there using maybe a home device themselves, they really should, if you've just ovulated and you're not sure, you should just like stop and wait and see if your period arrives, and if it doesn't, and let's leave the red light therapy alone, and
you
fingers crossed you won't have to use it.
You can use the laser, but not on your not in the pelvic area. Maybe you read the studies by Toshiro Oshiro from Japan.
Yes.
He did a lot of treatment up here. You can do that. But because we've done that many times with pregnant women, we have treated their ankles or their elbows or their neck, no problem, but not the pelvic area. So you might, if you have a cellular or any other home device, after ovulation, if you had sex or IVF, move away from the pelvis and treat other areas. That's safe. If it has any effect, we don't know, but it's safe, and why not try? But in my
Again,
clinic,
it makes sense that if it's
yeah,
having such a positive effect on, on the body, that you would think it would be supportive again in pregnancy. But again, we don't have that research. But I had seen a couple of studies on the use of the PBM. I think one of the studies was in Iran and the other was in Brazil, I believe, where they were using it in labor for pain management, which I thought,
oh,
well, this is a great way to, again, for
yeah,
someone who cannot have medication or
yeah,
maybe does not want medication, another
yeah,
tool they can use. But again, there's that little bit of nervousness about,
yeah,
because they were using it on the lower back
yeah.
mostly. And I'm like,
But that's a big healthy baby.
yes, and you're
That's
in
all right.
labor.
Yeah,
So you're weighing up lights,
yeah,
epidural. It's like, well, we know that this comes with a
yeah,
lot of extra baggage with it. Yeah.
yeah,
But it is great to hear that you're using it in with pregnant clients, just not on the in the pelvic area, and keeping it kind of chest up
yeah. And
or
in my clinic,
below the knees.
yeah, and in my clinic, I don't see a lot of women coming to my clinic for laser after they might be pregnant, because
Yeah,
it might not have a lot of effect here. It can be a long way to my clinic. It's expensive.
sure.
So
Yeah,
we treat mostly until ovulation, wait, and then start again.
yeah.
I just counted the, all the women who came to see me in my clinic above the age of 40.
Oh yeah.
59% got pregnant.
Wow,
That's quite a lot, because it's
that
a group
is.
of women who
Yes.
often have tried for several years and have been through all kinds of
Hmm.
treatments. So the success rate on this group of women is relatively high. Mm.
Yeah. And would most of these women be about to undergo treatments? They're about to do IUI or they're planning IVF, or do you get a mix of women who are they're hoping for a spontaneous conception?
Um, it's a mix. I had a few who also used the laser before donoric
Mm,
treatment. Most of them prepared for IVF, but often I've had women who had been in IVF treatment on and off for more than 10 years when they come to me.
wow.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. I don't know
stress.
how they manage. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we have a lot of severe infertile women in our clinic. And laser seems to have a very good effect. On the other side, um, we found out that you shouldn't use laser, at least not as a first choice of treatment for women under 30.
because
They
they
don't
don't
gain
need
much
that
from that.
extra energy,
No, they
but
don't.
wouldn't they still have inflammation, or is it
They
just,
could
I
have
guess, older you
inflammation.
get?
Yeah, that's why I sometimes do it. But the
Mm,
effect, my success rate for those women who came to see me below 30 is 66%. If we work with laser, that's not much. If I, on
mm,
the other hand, compare to when we work with the Moishishua method, these young women, sometimes they have a very sedentary lifestyle. So
right.
we start exercising, we start trying to solve their pelvic pain, or we give manual scar tissue treatment. So for those women who came and joined my training group with the Moishishua exercises, my success rate for the women under 30 was 100%.
Wow.
100%. Yeah. So if they're
Jeez.
young, we start with something else.
Right. Yeah,
Laser therapy
makes
is not
sense.
the first choice.
Yeah.
Let's see. maybe you exercise too much or you exercise too
Mm.
little, or maybe it's very popular in Denmark to eat vegan.
Mm-hmm.
They stop eating meat or something. We look at, or maybe you should need some B12 or iron
Yeah.
supplements, and we go through to see, could you have some kind of scar tissue? We start working with that. They do their home exercises. So I love working with that group. But when they're above 40, my first choice is laser, because that's where I have the highest success rate for this group. I can combine it with home exercises, talk through nutrition subjects, check maybe the microbiome,
There's stress management.
stress management. We also work with the position of the uterus. We cannot use laser to change the position of the uterus. We have to work with other methods like molecular therapy, or the American Arvigo abdominal
Yes.
therapy.
Massage. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't just use laser for any person walking in through the door in my
Yeah.
clinic.
It's an individualized
It
program,
should be
really, and
always.
plan
So the
for.
first
Yes. Yeah.
treatment is always an individual session with me. We talk through, do some examinations, and try to figure out what's the best treatment for you. That's
It
a goodbye
almost
to my boyfriend.
it almost feels like what we're going to see in the future is that if you are planning a pregnancy, let's say you haven't even started trying, but if you're planning a
Yeah.
pregnancy, you need to start taking your folate first,
Yeah.
and you need to start doing some laser sessions to really to get everything ready, and look at your diet and stress and all the rest as well. But really, I'd say folate and your laser and your nutrition, and then start trying. Let's get all our ducks in a row first.
Yeah.
And maybe we will prevent some of what they're experiencing.
The results from a very new study in local here in Denmark came out last year, showing that this study has been going on for generations. My daughter and I was part of this big project. It's called Better Health for Generations. It shows that if a pregnant woman has D vitamin insufficiency.
Mm-hmm. Low vitamin
I
D.
hope I picked the right words here in English.
Yeah.
If she has vitamin D insufficiency in the first deficiency, in the first trimester, and she gives birth to a son, the chances that he will suffer from low sperm count for the rest of his life is quite high.
Wow.
And we have a lot of vitamin D problems here in Denmark. So I always advise folate and vitamin D.
Yes.
And there are some theories and very few studies who shows that if you can say the local vitamin D metabolism gets better with light, like near infrared light treatment. So because you need vitamin D in your ovaries and in the uterus and in the testicles, so you have to absorb vitamin D. And this, I don't know if you can call it metabolism, local vitamin D absorption is increased with laser light therapy, which is...
And that makes sense, because I guess if we are, I think I read something recently that we spend something like, in the US, 93% of our time is spent indoors.
Yeah.
And sedentary lifestyle. So we're not getting any vitamin D. And I think we're seeing more research around vitamin D in pregnancy and how it impacts, it affects pain. And so I'm like, we're still not at a point where we're seeing, I guess, significant increases in recommended dosages of vitamin D, and for I think it's changing though. I'm not sure what the recommended dose in Denmark is, but again, we see sometimes, what the government recommended guidelines are, and then we see, well, the science says something very different, that
Yeah,
the
definitely.
government range is barely touching this deficiency,
Yeah.
and especially if you're not getting out and getting any daylight. So I think, one of the reasons why these therapies are being so helpful for the whole body is that it's giving us back what we're missing out in when we used to be out hunting and gathering, and then at nighttime we were sitting by the fire and getting our infrared that way,
Yeah. And if it's in Denmark, it's also very popular to use sunscreen.
Yes.
So when people go out or even send their kids out, they are covered in sunscreen. So the problem with vitamin D is increasing.
Yes. And of course, there's a whole other discussion to be had then about, sunscreen, and then the fear of, lasers and cancer. And it's like, no, but it's not, when we're using lasers, we're not using UVA or UVB. We're using a specific wavelength that is not harming the tissues, that is only going to help the tissues and help. Anne-Marie, that's been really helpful. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, or this evening for you in
it's getting
Denmark.
Dark here.
It's. Do you want to share your website or contact details if anyone wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, get more information? And I'll include it in the show notes as well.
My book, Fertility and Physical Therapy, is out in English.
Great.
Yeah, you can get it in an ebook edition. My website is called Fertility. It's Danish, so I don't know if you can.
I'll get it from you, and I'll include it in the a link in the notes, and people can.
There is on my webpage. There's a lot of information. There are lots of links for scientific studies on laser therapy. There is a small flag in the right corner so you can translate everything into English.
Brilliant.
You can also find the Moishishua exercises. I've made a small online video where I guide these exercises, and I do it in English.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's really a great thing also to work with. Get your pelvic moving, get rid of some of the tension and connective tissue tension. Yeah.
Great.
Well,
thank you again.
.dk. Fertility.dk. There's no way you can figure out how to spell it, I think.
I'll put the link in.
But or search for my name and fertility.
Great.
My book, Fertility and Physical Therapy, you'll probably be able to find that easily.
And does the book include information about all the different aspects that you use with your patients? Great.
Yeah.
That'll be another great resource.
There's a chapter about the Moishishua exercises. There's one chapter about scar tissue treatment, where I'm quite inspired by American. The Werns did a very great job. There's a chapter about laser treatment, stress, probably something else I've forgotten. Yeah, you can see my
lots of resources.
Yeah. I have a Danish edition which came out only 2 years ago. It has a lot more information. It's getting thicker. I hope that I can just AI translate it.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, 5 years ago, it took a long time to translate a whole book, and it was expensive. I think now, I don't know if you can maybe you can just buy the Danish ebook and AI translate it in 2 minutes. I don't know.
Well, if you can't do it today, it'll probably that functionality will probably be here in about a week.
Yeah.
AI is changing so quickly.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Anne-Marie. This has been really informative, and thank you for sharing all of your case studies. And it's really, really fascinating. And I hope that we're going to see this area continue to explode, really, for our women that are facing fertility challenges, and men. Let's get you into these clinics and
Yeah.
shine a light down there.
Yeah. Get a little more energy in your testicles. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. It's been great.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Remember, empowerment begins with knowledge. If you enjoyed our time together and want more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. So stay inspired, stay informed, and until next time, take care of yourself.